Well, Reese has inadvertently hopefully helped me make a little bit more money because that's the name of the game here. So Reese had a very recent controversial live slash video, and apparently it's gone. I don't know if this is the YouTube system or she's just being wise and took it down because it was out there, and some people were complaining in the comments, "Wow, you're really afraid of the women's and the spicy conversation." I don't think anyone is denying women the right if they want to do whatever OnlyFans kind of content. If they want to do that, that's them. It's the way that Reese is doing it that is upsetting a lot of people, and also that it's contradicting a lot of her stories she told just the last year about how poor she was, how she needs help, how Jeff is allegedly terrorizing her, and all these things. But I want to have a little bit more fun as Halloween passes away and we get into whatever the Christmas season. So consider this a very weird kind of commentary. Now, I will be totally honest, I think the Hammer story is a lot more hilarious and funny. I mean, there is a technically disturbing side. So, the way I understood it, Hammer got himself involved in some kind of weird scandals. The one thing I was honestly interested in is the allegations of, wait for it, cannibalism. Yes, cannibalism. And apparently became so notorious that even John Campea, who is sticking up for the guy, can't help but make a little bit of a joke there.
But this was me with Armie Hammer, 6'5", and I just realized that he's looking at me like I'm delicious. And that's the smile of a hungry man right there. Anyway, and so he kind of disappeared, but now he's back. As Deadline is reporting that...
Well, as with any Hollywood scandal, it's a lot of he said, she said. I do think they released some actual information, but still, I'm like, cannibal. Huh, cannibal. Alrighty then. So let me summarize the Campea commentary, which I don't think was that deep, which is, well, guys, he was charged, but they didn't find anything. Well, we don't know that. It could be just because they're not going with the case doesn't mean he's not guilty or they don't have enough evidence. It's like, it could be a waste of money, right? I mean, I gather at this point, he's pretty desperate, right? He was a successful actor. He was in some big things like The Social Network and a few other big projects, but it's not Johnny Depp here, right? It's not Tom Cruise. He doesn't have like $500 million in the bank just to rest on his laurels. So he probably just doesn't have the resources to really fight the case. However, Hollywood actors, if they get desperate, they will do anything for that money. So it could be the DA in LA was just like, I don't know. Doesn't seem like there's enough here. Maybe we could win, maybe we can't. A lot of this is just political calculation. So the fact they didn't move forward with his case doesn't tell me he's innocent, doesn't tell me he's guilty. It just feels like it's a murky in between. Now, how is this tied to Reese? Well, when you think about it, what are we talking about? I guess it's the private, intimate lives of these celebrities. I do find Reese a little bit more annoying and hypocritical. Listen, I actually like Reese on a lot of levels. She's much more honest than Aaron Smith-Levin and a lot of the SPTV people. Those people just have a very robotic script. Whatever you want to say about Reese, she does have a plan, but she will sometimes just tell you the blunt truth saying, I really don't care about these things. I don't really care about that. I don't really like Jesus. I don't really like this. I don't really like that. She will just come out and tell you, I don't really like you to your face. So you got to give her that. She's refreshingly openly toxic, whereas other people are hiding the toxic, but they're still toxic anyway. That said, this is a deep question. If you do have these YouTube celebrities or whoever, actors, you go through the list, or now P. Diddy, is this really anything anybody should be interested in? It's like, well, you could say, well, there's crimes, but at the end of the day, who the hell cares? Yeah, there is the question of who the hell cares. I would guess the scale would be from examining Scientology and other cults would be this, that you could be toxic or problematic. Let's think about Mel Gibson. We'll just focus on him for a moment. Okay, as long as you're not making policies, there I think that's where you could be indifferent, saying, well, I really just don't care about these celebrities. I don't care if they go to hell. I don't care if they go to jail. Correct. However, with cults like Scientology or the Nation of Islam, you do have the problem that these cults do try to enact policies. Those policies do affect people. So I think that is the murky line, right? And Mel Gibson is a very political person, but as far as I know, he's never run for, quote, formal political office. Now, again, I don't like Mel's politics, but again, as long as you're not affecting policies, then yeah, you might be like, well, what's the reason to cancel this person, right? So that may work in Armie Hammer's favor. I mean, he's not really a politician. He's not really going to affect the laws. On the other end, I can't lie. This cannibal thing, even listen, I'm a tolerant guy, but I'm like, this is too much. But I don't think it's because he's a suspected criminal. Frankly, it's just very embarrassing, right? If you try to advertise your film and you got to attach what? Jane? Now we've got Hannibal the Cannibal there. That's going to be pretty hard sell. And then we turn to Reese, and some people are defending her saying, well, she's not as a criminal as you make her out to be. Yeah, but she's not exactly super clean either. So yeah, I guess the same thing with Reese. But here's the dilemma with her, and this is a small issue, but it is an issue that she is still linked to the SBTV Foundation, which is basically what it is. It's a lobbying corporation. Now, granted, I don't think Aaron Smith-Levin is going to run for president or governor or whatever, but it is a political body, and she's attached to it. So her behavior does reflect the board, does reflect the foundation. And again, in the scheme of things, it's not a lot of money. It's $50,000. Still, that is a political action committee, basically in disguise. So good or bad, that can influence policies, good or bad. Maybe more in a negative way that it's just going to prevent a lot of good regulation from coming forward. But that's the point. It's a political mess. It's a huge political mess. I know Reese doesn't appreciate that, but then, she doesn't care about a lot of things. I don't think we know enough to cancel him. I frankly just find the whole thing laughable. I've never been a big fan of his, so it's not like I'm obligated to keep supporting him. I'm not really contradicting myself, but hey, if this is too much for you, I respect that. It is a small little film, but if symbolic you think, we got to take a stand somewhere, that's fine. I guess the inconsistency would be like, well, why are we being critical of Reese, but not him? No, we can be critical of both. I guess the dilemma with Reese is, and granted, it's only loose, but she is part of a political movement. What she's doing is very embarrassing. Now, granted, the ex-Scientology community was already embarrassing, but some people there are trying to be real activists and do real movement things. Reese is not, which, fine, I respect that, but it is doing a little bit of damage to the larger movement. So I think it's a little different from these other cases. You could just say, listen, Reese wants to have her weird sex scandals. Let her have a weird sex scandal. Who the hell cares? There is a bigger issue at play. And granted, I know she doesn't care about it, but it is there. And good or bad, she did do all those videos with Aaron. I think she did pitch herself very falsely to a lot of people. I know she doesn't see it that way, but then she doesn't see a lot of things that way. And there we are. I will end on a final commentary with the Campea people about, is it enough to not support someone? Yeah, I don't know.
The real serious stuff.
And that's the actual stuff. Because he was in an interview with People yesterday talking about his new podcast, Hammer Time. So
yeah. Which, by the way, is
woof.
Actually a very good name for a podcast.
But,
I think it's actually a very good name for a podcast.
And he started talking about how like the cannibal stuff is like, oh, it's so funny to me because, it's just something people said to get headlines and things.
Right. This is like the bigger Tom Cruise dilemma, which I'm not going to tackle here because that is a big one. Namely, well, is it enough not to give Tom Cruise money? I think it is because even though Tom is super rich, he does depend on his popularity. So just denying him a movie ticket is a big signal. However, some people say, that's not going far enough. We need to go to the next step and totally deny him the ability to make any income. Well, first of all, that ain't going to happen. He's just too big a star. However, I do think there's something to be said that there's different kinds of cancel culture. So are you canceling someone by not supporting them? Kind of in a way. It's just a little bit more subtle. But is it effective? Well, with Tom, not yet. But I don't know. I didn't really like what he did with Maverick, but he's coming back for more. So I'm going to be critical of Tom. I'm going to be critical of Reese and critical of Mr. Hammerman here. But again, yeah, it's fine if you don't share the outrage because you're like, really, at the end of the day, they're just stupid celebrities. But again, stupid celebrities can get involved with some really nasty stuff and hurt a lot of people. I think that's what people are missing out on. But again, if you don't want to care, you don't want to care. You can't force people to care. I think there is something worth caring about. And if Reese or Tom Cruise or Armie don't appreciate that, well, there we go. But you got to tell them the truth. If you get involved with Scientology or cannibalism, listen, there's a right to be critical of those things, especially cannibalism. I mean, it's cannibalism for God's sakes. Cannibalism. Yeah, it's pretty out there with him.